Ilhan Omar and the group. I met the head of Somalia. Did you know that? And I suggested that maybe he'd like to take her back, and he didn't want her. He said, I don't want her. Okay, what else?
In reaction to some comments that you had made about Charlie Kirk and his passing, President Trump recently referred to you as scum. He went on to call your home country, Somalia, saying it was plagued by a lack of central government control, persistent poverty, hunger, terrorism, piracy. He went on. What's your response to that and to others who have said you should go back to where you've come from?
Yeah. Well, it is disgusting for the President of the United States to disparage a country that we have devoted so much energy in helping stabilize. He certainly knows that Somalia does have a government. They're on their way in creating some strides to make sure that they have stability, security, and economic vitality. But also it is important for us to recognize just how wrong, xenophobic, bigoted it is for the President of the United States to join the online trolls in saying that I should be sent back to where I came from.
Your reaction, though, on the flip side to people who are saying, look, we often look to politicians as leaders and we need to turn the temperature down, and you've recently said that the country is being run by a bunch of idiots. Mm-hmm. Well,
our president is embarrassing on a national stage. You've seen him not understand that members of Congress can't be impeached as he calls for my impeachment. You've seen the chaotic ways in which he has led the country. You see him lie and not have an understanding that tariffs are a hidden tax on Americans. You certainly have seen your own threats to your life. Does it change at all what you say? Has it changed your behavior? There's been a correlation between the level of death threats that I have and who has been the president. In Trump's first presidential administration, I had one of the highest death threats for a member of Congress, and it was because the president couldn't stop invoking his xenophobia and bigotry towards not just myself, but every identity that I represent, whether it is the fact that I am an immigrant that comes from Africa, the fact that I'm Muslim and black here in the United States. And, I had 4 years of relative calmness with the Biden administration that shows the kind of leadership that Democrats present when they have the power. And then now we see death threats return. As soon as he got sworn in, we were swamped with death threats and bigotry in our office and almost every social media platform that you open up. I mean, we have to remind the public, the Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. It is important for also the public to understand that they are refusing so far to negotiate with us. What that displays for not just Americans, but folks on an international platform is that our country is being led by idiots.
It's a general rule across Western society that you shouldn't marry your brother. Has anyone in here married nobody here has married their brother? Nobody. You don't marry your brother. We don't have to really elaborate on that. I don't think you have to Google anything. I think, don't marry your brother. Don't marry your sister. Not a big deal. Unfortunately, Ilhan Omar has. It is starting to break forth. And Donald Trump, Donald Trump, he starts teasing stuff. People tell him he's a racist. And 2 years later, they're like, oh, the racist guy got it all right. Well, look at this from Donald Trump on Truth Social. Ilhan Omar's country of Somalia is plagued by a lack of central government control, persistent poverty, hunger, resurgent terrorism, piracy, decades of civil war, corruption, and pervasive violence. 70% of the population lives in extreme poverty and widespread food insecurity. Somalia is consistently ranked among the world's most corrupt countries, including bribery, embezzlement, and a dysfunctional government. All of this, and Ilhan Omar tells us how to run America. P.S. Wasn't she the one that married her brother in order to gain citizenship? What scum we have in our country telling us what to do and how to do it. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America Great Again. And what, of course, you are seeing, Mike, you can leave that up for just a sec. What you are seeing right there is Ilhan Omar's marriage license application. It is finally breaking forth. This is so, I was talking about the airlock, right? Somehow the mainstream media, you can come back. The mainstream media always is basically an airlock. All of us out here on the internet, crazy internet people on the Wild West, the frontier of everything, we're just talking about trying to work it through. We get some things right, some things wrong. But generally, whether it's COVID or Russia, or very fine people, like, we're getting to the truth quicker. And then the mainstream media basically exists as the airlock. And every now and again, something breaks through the airlock, or something becomes so obvious the airlock can no longer contain it. That would be, for example, last June when Joe Biden, during that debate, just had the full-on breakdown that we all knew was obvious, but it was so damn obvious that the airlock could not contain it. Next thing you know, the next day on CNN, everyone's repeating what we've all been saying for years. The Ilhan thing has been bouncing around the internet for could be 4 years at this point, right? And now finally Donald Trump is going for it. Ilhan knows she is in some hot water, and well, she's trying to offer some tepid defense. Take a look.
Educated enough to understand that members of Congress can't be impeached. You know, when you have Nancy and Randy saying, you know, we're on it, we're going to impeach her, when they're saying they're going to deport me, knowing full well that you cannot deport an American citizen, what that displays for not just Americans, but folks on an international platform, is that our country is being led by idiots.
Well, sorry, Ilhan, but not only did everything you say there, is everything that you said there a lie and backwards, it turns out there's some factual evidence into why we can get rid of someone like you. This from Real AR on X. Once again, the know-it-all knows nothing. A naturalized citizen can lose their citizenship through a process called denaturalization, which could potentially lead to a deportation if certain conditions are met. Examples include providing false information during the naturalization process, committing serious crimes, treason or terrorism-related offenses could trigger denaturalization proceedings. So she married her brother for immigration purposes for her brother, so that could qualify as that. And then as it pertains to terrorism or some of those other things, I think I don't have evidence of this. This is my belief around her and Rashida Tlaib and some of these other people. They are going to find, either through a RICO case or something, they are going to find high-level coordination between people like them and these NGOs that are putting people out on the streets, that are working with, you know, it's the Hamas crew and the Antifa crew that are committing acts of domestic terrorism and violence and much more.
I think when you have sitting members of Congress, you know, calling me enemy of the state, when you constantly have people saying I'm a domestic terrorist or I'm a terrorist, it is scary because we know that they have a base that is reacting to it. And you can tell that by the voicemail that we're getting. You can tell that by the number of people that have been incarcerated over the years for threatening to kill me, some that have had many weapons in their disposal. And so this is a constant threat that we live under because, you know, these people are not saying, you know, they don't agree with our rhetoric or, you know, what we say is stupid or whatever, which they also do. But they're literally saying we are a threat to the fabric of this nation.
Do you think that free speech in America is sacrosanct and you're just not going to litigate it?
Well, one, I do think freedom of speech is sacrosanct. But I also know that defamations when it comes to public servants is really hard to win. And I have consulted with lawyers before, and outside of draining me for, you know, little resources that I have and tying up our time.
What about your Democratic colleagues? Have they done enough to defend and protect you?
I've been blessed, I would say, in many ways when it comes to like these kind of outright vitriol that I have faced from the right. There has been times where, you know, Democrats themselves have created an environment that hasn't been the best. They've learned from that, and I am really grateful that in this moment they are collectively raising their voices and speaking to the danger.
Even top leadership,
yes,
Jeffries,
yes,
Schumer.
He issued a statement yesterday or a day before about some of these statements, and I think the danger, as we now, you know, take a closer look of what happened to my dear friend Melissa Horman and her husband, John Hoffman and his wife, and what happened to Charlie Kirk, I think it's important for us to say, like, this level of vitriol can produce dangerous results, and those of us who are in the public eye have a responsibility to to not use language that has formally created opportunities for people to be extinct.
That's all for today. Thank you. If you want global news to keep you up to date on any new developments, please subscribe our channel and forward our content with your friends on social media and email. Thank you very much for keep supporting me. Stay safe. Be blessed. Namaste.
Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.